story about how I have journeyed along from the time that I first came into contact with SLI and then to now, since July, have been appointed, as Greg shared, to SLI for a special project ministry. So it started really about 7 years ago when a colleague of mine forwarded to me an invitation to something called a spiritual leadership incubator. And he said to me, I have no idea what this is. We had not heard of SLI, or an incubator to us was something you put chickens in. But anyway, so he said that I thought it sounded like something you might be interested in. So I looked at it and it said spiritual leadership, and I thought, wow, I would really like to get into that. So I emailed our congregational development director and said, my name wasn't on the original list, but is there any way I can come to this? I'll even sit in the back and audit if you don't have enough openings. And now, knowing what I know, I think that's really humorous that I asked to audit an incubator. But anyway, so I went and I was part of that, and Brian was our leader, and I think he would agree that we were an extraordinarily gifted group, as would Brad, because he was in that group as well. And we had, as many of you know, just a life-changing, transformative experience. So much so that many of us wanted to become evangelists. So we were sent out in twos and began to lead clergy incubators throughout our annual conference. And Brian would come to West Virginia every couple of months and coach us how to be coaches. So many of us also went back to our local churches and our districts, and we led incubators there. And needless to say, the principles of SLI and the way to discipleship had just gotten into our bloodstream, and we were infected and wanted to be infectious. So then about 3 or 4 years ago, can't remember for sure, but I was invited to come here for coach training. And one thing that was difficult for me, one of my weaknesses is I like to know what's going to happen next. And so coming here, I wanted someone to define for me, well, what will happen next? And, if you've had any experience with SLI, they don't like to tell you things like that. So, but I was just really hungry to deepen my understanding of all this and just continue to stretch myself as a leader. So I came, and it was a great experience. And then about 1.5 years ago, Chuck Lord called me and asked if I would apprentice at the Burlington, North Carolina Abide. And I was just getting ready to change appointments. And so I said, Chuck, I would love to do this. I have waited for this day, but this is just not a good time. And so Chuck said to me, well, what if you just come part of the time? Well, I fell for that, knowing that, I already learned that you can't audit one of these things. So, I was all in, and it was just a wonderful experience. Donna and her church was part of that, and just got to witness again how transformative this process can be when we open ourselves up to the Holy Spirit. So then the journey continued, and last April, Craig and Brian called and asked if, or they called to share with me that SLI was entering a unique partnership with an organization called Move the Mountain. And Move the Mountain is trying to end poverty in the United States through something called the Circles Initiative. And through this partnership, they were thinking, we're kind of imagining that we might design projects around developing Christian leadership as we do, but also at the same time equipping people to lead their communities and being in ministry with the poor. And after that partnership is formed with the community, of course, also then attacking other problems that we face in our communities. And so as we talked, it was really a lot less defined than what I like things to be. But the invitation spoke very clearly and resonated with a call that God has upon my life and on my ministry. So I agreed and requested that the bishop appoint me to this ministry. So here I am. I would like to stand up here and say that we have it all figured out. We don't. I do have a small team put together. I've been working with Corinne back there and other folks at Move the Mountain. And we're asking ourselves questions around what would it look like if a team of spiritual leaders from not just one church, but from several churches or from around the community would come together and love, learn, and lead together with the goal of planning for generative community ministry. What would it look like if we could really, as churches, partner with the community in a way that really brings transformation to the world. It's challenging, it's very exciting, but I would like to extend an invitation to all of you as new coaches. If this community-based ministry is something that resonates with your heart, please come and see me, because we definitely have a place for you on this team. I just want to close in saying that as I have reflected upon my journey, as we often do, I think we don't really reflect enough maybe on what our journeys have been until someone asks us to do so. And I've realized as I've thought about it how dependent being invited into various processes has been with this journey, and how important and how powerful that invitation is. And that I couldn't help but think about that. I think it's in session 2, the worship segment, that's Follow Me ×2, where Jesus invites Peter to come follow me. And it's that invitation that is the most important one. And how privileged we are as spiritual leaders to be able to invite people into the way of discipleship. Thanks.